The City of Hardyville City Council Workshop, 205 Main Street, Hardyville, South Carolina, Monday, February 12th, 2024 at 3 p.m. And we are going to talk today about the budget. Mr. Zimbler, please.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to get together with you fine folks. So a week ago, correct me if I'm wrong, John, my memory is failing in my elder years.
Was
it 2 weeks ago now already?
2 Wednesdays.
2 weeks ago already.
Go to the slides, please, Jess.
That's right. Here we go. Oh, we're starting the comments already.
I got that memory going again.
You got the zingers, okay. No, so we kicked off the budget presentation for the department heads, and we kind of wanted to go through just a series of slides and obviously get the council's input. Obviously, you know, building a budget is like building a house, you have to have a solid foundation. So if we don't know what the foundation is or what materials to use.
Here we are.
Materials.
Sat on the whoopee cushion.
That's right. What materials to use, we might have a faulty foundation in the budget process. So obviously, we'd like to get your comments, feedback early in the process, so we don't have any, you know, misunderstandings or when we're presenting a proposed document that you may or may not agree to. So instead of, you know, hopefully sparing some time and obviously get the council's priorities and feedback at the beginning versus toward the end. So we're gonna change up just a little bit. So we'll just go quickly through here. We got facts and figures. I did send this to you. It was available on the website. I'm not gonna read this directly, but there's some of the things we do talk about for the initial budget presentation. So we're gonna jump right to slide number 5. So Mr. John and I are gonna tag team these slides until we get to the discussion portion, and then the council can weigh in. Go ahead, Mr. John.
Okay, so you see, right here where we have the FY '23 year end, those numbers are straight from the budget. And then, of course, as of 2 weeks ago, our best projection, maybe somewhat conservative of what it's gonna look like at the end of this year, for the projected fiscal year '24. And that's just to showing the last 5 fund balances we have, again, 19 to 23, and then the projecteds for '24.
So I think the message here, which I think everybody can assume and understand, is the city is in very good financial condition. We've been very good steward of our resources, and we have very strong, you know, fund balances. So we're very proud about that. All right, let's go ahead to the next one. So every year we talk about staffing. You know, obviously we know we're a growing city, so we have definitely needs. Each department has needs. So you can see obviously from 2020 to 24, the city's workforce has expanded. And that kind of shows, you know, the growth in the departments and the demands. Kind of an interesting note, obviously, we have 156.5 allocated or appropriated for this year, but we have almost 21.5 full-time equivalent vacancies, which means obviously we're having some difficulties. We're competing with all our neighbors, you know, to find qualified people, retain qualified people. Trying to think what else.
All departments or just?
Yeah, so there's kind of a breakdown on the bottom there, John.
Okay, yeah.
It gives you, it kind of gives you, and obviously police and fire are very difficult, obviously, because we're competing and, but again, building inspection as well. Trying to find qualified people that either that have some basic building or general contractor experience. The big thing with that is them being able to pass the tests. We have a series of tests that they have to pass to be able to do all the various inspections. So I guess my note is obviously we're growing and obviously we would expect, we don't know at this point because we're in a very early process, that 156 will be, next year will be more than 156. That's what I would propose. I don't know the exact number, but I think that's what it's gonna be. Any questions?
Yeah,
Yes.
the recreation spots on the field, are they, like, yeah, what are they?
Jen?
The rec center employees?
Yeah, they're part-time employees for right now. We are asking for a full-time position.
Full-time equivalent. I'm sorry, Jen, did you?
Yeah, we'll be asking
sorry,
for
Jen,
a full-time, but right now, the open positions that we have are part-time. We have
So
5
full-time-
full-time.
So John said FT, full-time equivalent.
I don't know what that
So
exactly meant.
like two part-time people, regular scheduled, are one full-time equivalent.
Okay.
I see Public Works has been stagnant. Is there a need for growth, or we haven't been, or is it? just
Well,
hard-
John Brown's not here, so I'm gonna say, no, they don't need anybody.
He'll disagree with you.
I'm sure he'll disagree.
Right, he's probably gonna slap me when he comes back too, because I said I'd adequately
I
represent
will
Public
say that
Works.
preliminarily, he and I have discussed it, and I think currently he may disagree slightly with the city manager.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right, Steve, that's a good question, but as you recall, we contracted and privatized the mowing, the landscaping.
Sure.
It's in lieu of,
Yeah.
you know, hiring additional folks. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming, and you know,
Just
we
one?
counsel, I'm sorry?
I said just one up there, it says. Public Works one.
Yes, they have one right now. They're down one vacancy. But to answer Steve's question, for the street department coming online, the stormwater coming online, the MS4 in the very near future coming online, that department will increase.
Okay,
In
thank
staffing, and I'm knowing John, I'm assuming he's gonna ask for some folks, just like, probably almost 95% of the people in here are gonna be asking for folks.
And they're doing the oil change and all this.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think he's gonna
So-
look for an additional body for that as well, Will.
That'll be hard too.
Competitive market for all of that now.
Right. All right, any,
Yes, for Parks and Rec, I think it would be helpful if we understood how many are part-time employees to operate the rec center? And how
Okay.
many are,
Jen, you wanna answer that? You want her
There's
to
7.
provide that as part of the budget?
Yeah, it's in the budget, it's included, and how we do our breakout, but currently we have 7. We're looking for 1 additional. We need at least 7 to run. And then, of course, our full-time people, we have 5, and that includes our Parks Division as well. That's me, Mel, Logan, Bill, and Andrew.
I think that's really what I'd like to see is, you know, the full-time employees.
The part-time people, we understand they're just to operate the rec center.
So do you wanna see the breakdown for every
Yeah.
department or just the
No,
Parks and
just the
Rec?
Parks and Rec, because I
Okay.
think the rec center is an entity unto itself. Those part-timers it doesn't reflect Parks and Rec and what they do.
Okay.
That's inaccurate, sir. We do need it, and we do have it, so, I mean, to say that it's not part of Parks and Recreation, full-time,
No, Jen, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, you know, Parks and Rec and all the things that are run by Parks and Rec, the part-timers are just there because the rec center's there.
correct, but we also have a full-time person that's maintaining that as well, and overseeing those folks.
Okay, we'll get,
We can get you
we can break that down, and maybe break down the, kind of the recreation programming, the rec center, and maybe the maintenance aspect of it, facility maintenance part. So council can have a full understanding of that.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? John?
So,
Say that.
No,
this is our assessed and estimated market value historically. And then this is our first brush at what we think it might look like by way of an increase in assessed value and market value for fiscal year 2025. And so that's just, you know, our best guess at this point. As we go through this process, we anticipate that would change, but in what direction, we have to wait and see as we pull together more data points, what that might look like. That is our estimate for right now.
so again, again, I'm just giving you more details that you probably want to know, but so we're making projections based on best available information. We don't get the stuff from Beaufort County and Jasper County until like early March-ish, early mid-March.
The
So-
assessor, excuse me, sir, the assessor for Beaufort County this morning told me probably not before the end of April.
Okay, well, so we're gonna have to make assumptions there, but we've been lucky. I mean, Jasper, again, I I gotta give
Susan
Susan
Wade
Wade
does
a lot
a
of
great
credit. She gives us best available data as soon as she can, which is, I guess, and I'm saying, don't correct me if I'm wrong, John, mid-March-ish. So we're making assumptions based on building permit value and everything that we know. And we've been, again, not trying to give ourselves a pat on the back. We've been relatively close every year based on actuals, our projections versus our actual. So again, that's, the whole point we're trying to say here, I mean, this is very strong and very vibrant growth. I mean, still, and as we know, as those number gets bigger, those percentages should start shrinking up because you have to have, to maintain that, 44%. I mean, they're incredible. So, I mean, even the 2.3 billion, I mean, that's just, again, hard to wrap your brain around in such a short period of time.
Yeah, may I ask a question? In the year of 21, there was such a huge increase. What was that for?
Was that a reappraisal,
Was that
John?
reappraisal
I don't know. Was that one of the
I
reappraisal
believe that
years?
probably was.
21
we
was the
did.
reassessment.
Yeah, that was the reassessment year.
think
So
That would have been the
Yeah.
reassessment year?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, anything else? All right, go ahead.
So this slide is just showing historically and again, this is Jasper County. We're not slighting Beaufort County, it's just Jasper County is so much the lion's share of what we do. But you can see back in 14, council had already taken the city millage rate down from, I think it was 153, and it was 142 in 2014, and then now it's at 96 for the city. And then again, you see the county's millage has gone from 142 to 140, and then the total overlapping rate is the 343. That's what we're trying to show you here, how the city melds in with all that the county's got going on.
John, the 2022, when Jasper County lowered their taxes, what was their increase in their assessed value?
I don't have that off the top of my head, sir.
We'll go back one slide, John, we can tell you what the city was in 22. In 22, we were at 23.5%. I mean, 18% market, so. And
The reason, what I was getting at, does the county have the same requirements that when they reassess, they have to be revenue neutral?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we anticipated a maximum increase of 14% assessed value increase in that year, if I recall the budget. So if Jasper County's assessed value went up 14% and they lowered their millage by what, 1%, then that is in essence a real tax increase.
I was just fixing to say, Mayor, you
Yeah.
just took the words out of my mouth. They didn't take a decrease on paper it looked like it, but we figured it out at the time. They really, it was not
Really,
neutral.
because
Dollar wise, it went up.
That's exactly right.
What you're allowed to do, at least what we were told, you have to be revenue neutral, and then you're allowed
That's
to
what happened,
take
you remember?
2 increases if you didn't raise the year before.
Well, and there's a growth factor that you're still, after you scale it back, there's still a growth factor you're permitted to add.
And see, that's where it came
Yours is
from.
different from
They scaled it back, but then they'd already figured in about the growth factor, so but they got a good increase that year.
Yeah, and so I'm just curious because people ask me, what is the real tax decrease / increase? Because if the assessed value went up 14% like we were projecting, then that's not really a tax decrease.
They've never had one, have they? I mean, really?
Well, they stayed the same.
On
And then
paper.
Remember what Henry said, staying the same is really like having a tax decrease.
don't know if you can answer that, John, or not. I guess that's kind of hard to do, but
There had to be some calculation, we did it.
You have to pull that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have that sitting right here, but I mean, certainly we can go back.
I'm asking, can you get,
Um,
say she's gonna try to get some more.
getting, depends on who I need to get it from. I'm seeing a lot of cooperation in some corridors and other corridors, not as much. But I'm certainly willing to try, you know that, so.
please try, because I'm
Okay.
kind of curious. I just have a distaste for smoke and mirrors.
All right, any other questions? Let's keep moving on, John.
Okay,
Not this John. All right, one more.
you ready?
All right, so again, here just some.
I'm all there.
Here's some challenges and opportunities. Obviously, everybody can read, but I'll just tell you, inflation, obviously, that's gonna impact the budget. We know as an example, our city's liability, property and casualty is going up, and obviously the contribution for medical insurance is going up. So things are going up. If we use the CPI index, it's about a 4.5% increase. For comparison purposes, we understand that Social Security will go up 3.2% next year. As we all know, we were at the retreat, the council, we have a laundry list of wants and needs that we need to try to finance with that limited group of resources. We do have that, again, a very robust capital improvements plan that we need to try to come up with a way to finance. And then there will be a new, operational cost, fixed cost to provide the ambulance services. Some of that will be offset by the expected revenue generation for the insurance billing. But on the good note, or it's the opportunities, we believe there will be a significant increase in the property tax collection of approximately 1.4 million additional dollars. That's based on if the millage rate stays the same. If it's reduced any, then that number will go down correspondingly. We're expecting, to continue the robust building planning revenue, business license. It's a moderate increase, but still increasing. And And then ambulance services, a new revenue source from ambulance services. And then, obviously, the very good fund balance that we see increasing on the development fees to be able to pay for those new service costs, as well as the opportunity to renegotiate, some of those agreements to obviously meet those needs, those ongoing and future needs that we have. Go ahead. Any questions on that?
What's 1 mil worth?
1 mil, John, is worth, we're expecting.
For 25, we anticipate to be just over $96,000.
Any other
And
questions?
that's Jasper County and Beaufort County, 1 mil would be just under 3,000.
Just under what?
3,000.
Beaufort
So-
County would be
It's almost 100,000, give or take, right, John?
correct.
Okay, so.
So everybody keep that in mind, because we'll be having that discussion here momentarily. Right, any other questions on those general observations? All right, keep moving.
Okay, and then this is the spreadsheet we show every year. This is the historical CPI calculation for COLA for our area. And then this year, that math shows the 4.5% that you saw on one of the previous slides. And then this is what this column here is what the math is consistently, and then this is what the COLAs have been after considering the column to the left. Any questions?
No questions? Okay. We're gonna bypass this part. This is some of the directions to the council members. Let's stay on that page real quick. So I just wanted to draw your attention to the, 1, 2, 3, 4th bullet, just, and I directed the department heads that, a lot of their capital improvement projects should correspond to the council's adopted goals and objectives. So we're all on the same page. All right, go ahead. So obviously, again, as I started, the purpose of this is to kind of get the temperature of the council, millage, and again, we don't need a cast in stone, but we really like to have a good, robust discussion on millage rate, cost of living increase, and then if council has any specific capital improvement projects that you'd like us really to include in that budget proposal, it'd be good to know that. Yes, sir.
John, on the slide before, you had the merit budget in there. I thought, okay, you didn't have a number, okay, I thought maybe you might.
Oh, well, I have that number, sir, if you wanna know what that 4.5
I know
translates
4.5, what's the merit separate from the COLA, right?
Yes,
The merit and the COLA are separate, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
and what would that merit budget be?
it's 0 to 4%.
Okay,
Is
gotcha.
that the same as before?
Yes,
So, yeah.
Depending on their review.
Yes, exactly.
absolutely.
We have an average. What was that number?
0 to 4%.
What's the average overall? Probably about three,
I do not know.
We'd have to check.
probably around three something, probably.
If I had to guess, I'd say probably in the threes, low threes.
All right, John, go back to that next slide. Okay, so currently we're at 97, right?
96.
96, and then what are we for Beaufort County?
102.
102. So 96 and 102, and a mill is
Roughly
approximately 100,000, give or take. Any feedback, thoughts?
I'm of the opinion, as I have always been, that economic development should benefit the taxpayer in the form of millage reduction. And so I certainly favor reducing it. Everybody else? We reduced this, the only year we haven't reduced it, and it actually started before my time, was the COVID year, because we were unsure
Oh,
what
scared, yeah.
effect COVID was going. As it turned out, we could have done it that year too, but we didn't. So I think we should continue to do so.
Mike, go ahead, you go and I'll go.
I tend to agree, but I still need more information before I could completely agree with reducing the millage. We see that we definitely know we have needs. I just don't, I won't commit to a reduction until I see that we can fulfill the needs. And Mayor, I do agree that what we do does need to reflect and go back to all of the city, but some of the increases in personnel and equipment and things that we do need will also benefit too. I do not support increasing the millage for any shape or form, but I'd like to see more numbers and more information before I could commit to reducing it. That's just my opinion.
I think if you look back at what it was, all the years, certainly the previous slide showed that if you kept the millage the same, you're gonna increase over 1.3 million. But that doesn't also reflect the increases that we've gotten in permitting fees and the building fees, all the things, the other, tax money. If you go and you look at the slides that we delivered to Margaritaville and all them, and look at the increases from 2015 or whatever that slide showed to last year. Just those three categories, tax, H-tax, building permit fees and building fees, we are up. Just what we're up, not what the total is, but we're up $6.2 million. Okay, so there's a lot more income coming than just from millage. In fact, millage is probably the smallest amount of our income. So we're getting a lot of money. And so I think, I'm not disagreeing with you, Steve, but I think you should take a look at that as well when you're considering your decision.
I agree. Do we have a number on our unspent from the current budget? I know we had budgeted for some personnel slots that were never able to be filled. Do we have a number?
There will be some lapsed salary money, but we have not quantified that. We'll do that over the next month or so.
Okay, I'm not saying taking it out, but I would like to see for my own information what that total is.
Harry, is your thought there that we might be able to do a point or two just intuitively, or?
Yeah, listen, I think we should continue to show the resolve to lower taxes. One of the benefits of economic development should be lower taxes for the citizen. They should benefit as well, not just, do stuff. And if that 1.3 million and change, if you'd lowered 2 mills, it's $200,000. You're still increasing your line item for millage by 1.1 million and change. And I that's been my philosophy since I got here, and I believe it's the right one to do. And it sets a tone. It sets a tone for investors to show that you're lowering your taxes on a continual basis. And maybe someday Jasper County will fulfill their promise and do the same thing.
I think what you're saying to me, how I would say it, is it represents for all of us being good stewards with the money that we're able to bring in from our resident base and our taxes. And to be thoughtful about that and have it as part of our philosophy of having a goal to reduce it every year makes growth not necessarily something people are more afraid of, but they see the benefits of it and they see good stewardship as opposed to, bringing all this money in and from the public's point of view, being wasteful with it. So I think your philosophy, Harry, is one that I agree with, the whole idea of stewardship.
It's not that I disagree with it.
No, I'm not talking to you point counterpoint.
No. I think, till we have all the numbers to take a look at it. Last year, we compromised on 1 mil
That's
for the
right.
reduction.
Right.
And I could favor doing that again this year. Given the added revenue that we will have in taxes, and like the mayor has said, the other things coming in, because I do think a reduction of the millage, if possible, does show good stewardship to the community and everybody else coming in. Right now, I just don't have enough information to make a decision whether it should be 1 mil, 2 mil, or whatever that we would be able to decrease.
So we need, John, I think all those numbers need to be represented, so the council can make a decision.
And for you, John, you understand sort of our goal of the reduction philosophy as part of your work, maybe working analysis when you look at those numbers.
Yes.
Good, I appreciate that.
Mike, I don't know exactly how to phrase the question or whatever. John may understand what I'm asking, but I remember a couple of years ago, some people in the county were telling me that you have to be careful about keep lowering the millage because you can only raise it by a certain percentage if you get in trouble legally. And I remember vividly, 4 or 5 years ago, originally got in a dire circumstance. They had not raised theirs, had left it either neutral or had reduced it a little bit, and then they got in a financial pinch. And they could only go up, point, I don't know, whatever, but.
I'd have to look
6
at
or
the
8%.
population increase.
But anyway, they got in a bind because they had never changed their millage, and when they needed it, they couldn't do it. And I remember that vividly, so I don't want us to get in that bind either. I'm not saying not to lower or whatever, but I don't want to get in that bind either if we get in a pinch and then we get in trouble and we can't raise it.
It's a good point, John.
Because I know originally got in a real bad bind. I mean, that's just a counterpoint there to think about.
I think, and we should look up the number, if I recall, each year you can only raise your millage by 6 or 8%.
See, that's what I'm talking about, I don't know what it is, but,
It's CPI and
Yeah.
and growth in your city. I think it's population or.
oh, is it?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
So there's two things, exactly.
Yeah, we
And
get
we've
a letter
never had the,
from-
we've never had the ability, we've never had the need, we'll say, to do that.
Do that.
I hope we never do. Right. Pray we never do.
But if you ever get in that situation, and I've been in that situation where you have to raise taxes, you're limited, and then the next step is reducing staff. And that's why I've always been a little stingy when it comes to adding staff, because of the very thing you're saying, John. You know, when
You get in a bind,
when you get in a bind, the most, the easiest thing to control is the number of people you pay. And that's usually what happens. So both issues are to your point.
that's right. It seems like we lower, and I know it doesn't matter, it seems like we lower, and Jasper County gets a little bit more each year. I mean, if we lower a meal, didn't we figure last year, John, it was like $30 a household, or $25 or something?
For someone living in a home with a $500,000 assessment, they're gonna, a 1 mil increase, or a 1 mil decrease is gonna be $20.
But you know something?
But it's still 20.
I'll tell you something, John, and I'm somewhere in that neighborhood. Because we didn't raise our taxes with the reassessment year, my tax bill was $500 less. Because my house didn't get reassessed up.
I was just answering the question.
So it answered my
But-
question, because, yeah.
But, you know, it's, you can, I always hesitate and I'll always challenge. When you break it down to the lowest denominator, that's really not a good way to me, to evaluate the situation. You cannot, you can always say, oh, for $30, it's throwaway. But it's not $30, it's $30 every year. And when you come up to a reassessment, it can be substantial.
We have cost of living increase for staff and those things. It's hard to judge where we're gonna be with the millage until we know
That's right.
where are we at financially with all of those? The discussion items for me, I guess, should have been, the cost of living should have been at the top, capital improvement, and millage at the bottom. We can't decrease what, we collect until we know what we're really
Collected.
out to spend.
Yeah.
So for the cost of living question, what data would you like to have on, I mean, do you wanna know, with what we're looking at right now, what does 4.5% equate to, or,
Yes.
okay?
Yeah, those are the numbers that we're gonna need, John.
$477,000.
Okay, so
For all,
that eats up part of that, 1.3 that we would have.
yes, sir.
And that's just cost of living, that does not include, merit increase.
Another 3% or so for,
Given staff on average, if you give them 4%, on average, it's close to 8% increase. And some more.
What would that dollar amount be then total, John?
just under, probably about $800,000, if you figure 3% for everybody we currently have on staff.
Okay, so that cuts 800,000 out of the 1.3.
That's down to 5.
And then, just trying to provide data points, not trying to advocate one way or the other, the anticipated health insurance increase from what I'm hearing from MASC is 11.8%. Now, that starts in January, but on an annualized basis, that's 151,000.
So we are basically.
Down to about 350.
Yeah.
So then the workers' comp, which is with a 10% anticipated increase, is again on an annualized basis, $17,000. And then the general liability anticipated increase of 15%, again, starting in January, would be on an annualized basis, $54,000.
So I don't have a calculator in my head, and those numbers were way too big. What But where are we at with that? We're $1 million?
So you're just over $1 million with the salary increase, the COLA, the cost of living, the merit, and those 3 items of insurance increases.
Well, you sure know how to burst somebody's bubble.
But here's, take another side of the argument. We'll give staff, and let's say, no challenge, 8%. But a 2% millage rate is only 2% for the people who are paying that 8%. So shouldn't everybody benefit from all the economic growth? And that's my argument. And I'm not saying staff doesn't deserve it, but so do the residents. They should all get an increase. And the other thing, as far as the 4.5%, last year there were a lot of statistics that were brought up. Where, what was the military giving? Remember, Val? You said, okay, we're giving a lot more than what the military is getting. We should compare it not just to the cost of living, but all the same items we looked at last year. What were the other municipalities doing? What were the military giving? What's the United States government giving?
And the chart that we show, I think, at least since Mr. Simbor's been here, I believe, that was the methodology that we used, and council, to my understanding, went along with that methodology every year until last year. But that's always gonna be our first data point, because we did it for 6-8 years in a row, and it worked. And then last year, it was a data point, but it didn't, the cost of living, it wasn't exactly the calculation, but that calculation again for this year is a place to start the discussion.
Go back to the chart. So up until, the last 2 years, the numbers were pretty low. Then all of a sudden it jumped up to 5%, then 8%, and that's when we challenged it. So I'm not saying I disagree with 4.5%. All I'm saying is, rather than get into a situation like last year, let's use all the comparisons that we used last year to make a decision. And that was, okay, what's everybody else doing? Because obviously, the council challenged last year, that methodology had led us to all of a sudden a very high number. Nobody challenged it when it was 2%. So let's just look at all the data that we looked at last year.
The capital improvement, do we have a number on what we're looking at there? I'm just saying, as I look at this, it's hard to look at that millage without having the information on the others. I mean, do we have capital improvement projects that are imminent, that we need to look at, that have to be completed? I mean,
We have projects from everything from on the drawing board to in progress that we need to complete. So that's the first piece of my answer to your question. And the second question is, and the reason that's in here is, we've been talking throughout the year, we had the retreat and all that. Are there any projects in there that you guys are, that council as a whole is saying, yeah, let's not worry about that till fiscal 27 or 28, or no, this is one that we really want to, we want to see staff focus on this. We want to see some major progress on this in the next year or two. That's the kind of guidance we're hoping to come away with today. There's something that's really burning for, again, assuming we have the resources, we'd really like to see these half dozen things get the most of your vision.
Before we go there, Val, you didn't chime in on the millage rate. Did you have an opinion or anything?
No, I'm rolling the ball with Steve.
Okay.
Wait for the numbers to come
Okay.
up.
Very good.
That wall may be flat on one side.
It's okay.
So the capital improvement projects, you're waiting for us to give you the direction on those?
Not exactly. We have some projects that are ongoing in this fiscal year that are going to roll in the next year, that we're gonna have some funding that is likely to be left over from what we've already budgeted. There might be some where the price has increased a little bit. We'll have all of that as part of the capital improvement plan that we present to you. But there's other plans that are out there. I don't wanna say pet project because that's disparaging, but Steve, if you have something that you're like, God, it would be so cool if we did this, let us know that, so that when we're putting together our plan and the city manager's gonna recommend what he can do with limited funding streams, that we give that more weight, let's say.
All right.
And just for that, so we have a capital improvement plan, 5-year plan, as John said, there's some in progress, some were on the drawing board, some were in the permitting stages, as we know, right, Matt? There's a lot of those.
And a project that was recommended last year might not be recommended.
And we have the goals and objectives that you're gonna approve hopefully on Thursday. So there's projects in there. So the purpose of this discussion is, are there any specific projects that the council says, man, I wish we really, if we're gonna spend some money, here's some of the things that I'd really like to get done. Exclusive of the goals and objectives, is there anything else that the majority says, we need to do this? So, I mean, it's good to know that now, and I understand what you're saying, Steve, I need to see the breadth of the projects, but
Yeah.
are there any specific things that you really think's important, that we really try to find a way to fund?
I'd like to see the projects now that are in play, are there something in there that we could accelerate to finish them up? Where are they in progress with everything? I mean, are we planning, are we started? I mean, to start new projects when we are so close to finishing some that we could get finished, makes more sense to me. I see what you're saying to make that,
If I may. When you say if there's a project in play that maybe we could accelerate, I understand looking at it that way, but I guess staff's question is a little different in the sense of, are there any projects in play that you would like to see be accelerated? Does that?
yeah, it does.
And that's really, if there are such things, we're hoping to get some guidance on that today.
Well, not that this should come as a surprise, but the municipal hub, White Hardy Boulevard and splash pads.
I was gonna say splash pads, but I
Wasn't touching. I knew.
I'm consistent.
Don't we have
He's got his
some
bathing
flag
suit.
pads down there?
I'm consistent.
The speed up.
Yes.
We got splash pads out there now. Right, Jen?
Oh, jeez. Yeah, lots of them, yeah, go ahead. Right here.
Rosa could be used as one.
Right, Matt? That was good.
I guess the
I
question
get
I
it.
was looking for, John, is, do we have certain projects where we may have overruns on? We're in the middle of, the upgrades to, the police station.
Correct.
Are we going to have any, overruns or things that?
Well, there have been, what you're asking about is just if there's, unforeseen conditions, and yes. But we had a contingency in our number, so we're okay.
Okay, so
The
you're.
bigger problem now is our contractor's underperforming, and we're in negotiation for a time extension of which there's a reasonable expectation to give them, but then the unreasonable expectation, they'll be hit with LDs.
I didn't need to hear that today.
But, you know, I wanna caution everybody who's considering the word accelerated. Accelerated costs money. If you want projects done fast or faster than what was originally intended, We do not have the funding in place for that. That's not part of a contingency number.
And what,
I think she answered my question. My concern was if we have contingencies to cover cost overruns, you built those into the project, then I'm comfortable. I did not,
Not all projects, but this particular
this
project,
particular
yes.
project, okay.
Yes.
now, Steve, the accelerated piece, when we're talking about that, we're talking about a reprioritization where it might be the 25th or 30th project. And if there's some member of council who says, well, I'd really like to see that up there in the top 10, that's the kind of guidance we'd like to get today.
Okay.
Not as far as something on board and just like stomping on the accelerator.
Okay, thank you.
I do think though, the point counterpoint, we may have a vision, and then you need somebody like a Jody or someone to tell us that we may have some false assumptions or that may not be able to be doable. And I think those things are best, maybe we have a vision about it or something we like, but I think if we got involved in the weeds and that's why we have people like Jody and the people that are managing these projects, and I think it'd be dangerous for us to get too involved in that. I think certainly our insights are good and our vision is good, but I don't think they need the council looking over their shoulders, basically, and I don't think we do.
And I think the space needs study is gonna help address a
Yes.
lot of that for you.
I'm supporting what you're doing.
Thank you.
We all have visions of the projects that we'd like to see, John. Every one of us does. But by the same token,